Hey guys, in this video I'll be ranking the top 10 most perfect physiques of all time, in my opinion. The perfect physique is obviously going to be subjective like the entire video, however I'll be taking into account a whole host of factors. I'm looking for competitors who absolutely nailed every aspect of bodybuilding at a given competition. They must have near perfect lines and aesthetics, great yet proportional muscularity, and flawless ultra shredded condition. Do let me know in the comments if there's anyone else you would have put on this list, or if you would rearrange mine in any particular order. If you guys enjoy these types of videos, a like and sub would be awesome, and with that all being said, let's get into this video. Alright, starting off this list, we have a rather famous competitor, Kevin Levrone, specifically his 1992 Olympia debut physique. I've said this in the past many times, however, I believe that this is easily his best version. While he might not have been the biggest, at least in terms of his upper body, his proportions from head to toe were nearly flawless. Everything flowed together seamlessly, creating a balanced and very aesthetically pleasing silhouette. On top of that, his conditioning was spot on, arguably the most shredded and thin-skinned physique of his entire career. Every muscle detail popped under those legendary 1992 Olympia lights, and his overall presentation was razor sharp. Whether it was his front double, side chest, or just his stage presence overall, his 1992 debut was straight up legendary, and it's truly a shame that he had to go up against the less shapely, yet far more mature Dorian Yates. This version showcased the perfect blend of size, symmetry, and detail, and in my opinion, he never quite matched it again. Up next is Dexter Jackson, and I do have to admit I went back and forth on whether to choose his 2008 or 2009 version. Both are absolutely incredible and represent some of the best physiques in history. However, I decided to go with 2009. While his 2008 version was slightly slimmer and arguably more streamlined, his 2009 package brought a slightly larger physique with superior dryness and sharper detail. The extra fullness in his muscles gave him a more dominant presence on stage, while the improved condition made every line and cut stand out even more. Dexter's signature look with the perfect proportions, incredible symmetry, and world-class condition was fully on display, and it definitely did solidify why he's known as the Blade. It's a physique that perfectly balanced mass with refinement, and near-perfect lighting and stage design at the 2009 Olympia further highlighted this. It does hurt a bit to know that this near-perfect physique placed third. However, that era did focus on rewarding larger bodybuilders like Jay and Branch, who were far less aesthetic yet larger and similarly conditioned. Chris Cormier's 1998 Olympia physique earns the 8th place spot on this list. Now, I was torn between choosing his 1999 or 1998 Olympia version, but I ultimately went with the 1998 version for the superior lines and sharper condition. In 1998, Cormier brought a physique that was not only aesthetically pleasing, but also incredibly well proportioned. His muscle bellies were round and his symmetry was second to none, but it was his conditioning that was really stellar this year. He was slightly sharper than in 1999, with every muscle detailed and crisp and defined, but not nearly as large in certain areas, adding to the more proportional look. While in 1999 his physique may have been a bit fuller and larger, 1998 had a kind of elegant look to it and a flow that highlighted his classic bodybuilding style, especially when looking at the midsection. The overall refinement of his lines and the dry, shredded conditioning made this one of the most complete physiques ever displayed on stage. It truly showcases Chris's mastery of shape, size, and condition, as he was unoffensively large, presented great cuts all over, and had a superb X-frame. Lee Haney's 1991 Mr. Olympia physique takes the 7th place spot on this list. Haney was truly the last classic-looking Mr. Olympia who managed to combine, the modern size with timeless lines, at least in my opinion. At his peak and final Olympia win in 1991, he demonstrated a near-perfect balance of mass and symmetry, showcasing a physique that was both massive and incredibly well-proportioned. Haney's conditioning was outstanding, and his shape was second to none with a small waist, wide shoulders, and a sweeping V-taper. What makes this version of Haney even more impressive is that he defeated a young, very hungry Dorian Yates, who was at the start of his own ascent to dominance. Haney's physique was definitely ahead of its time, capturing the essence of what bodybuilding was about, while incorporating the size and mass that defined the 1980s on a frame that was basically untouchable. His 1991 win represents the perfect culmination of classic aesthetics with modern advancements, marking the end of the classic era and the start of the modern mass monster movement. This spot was tough to call with a few contenders in the running, but I ultimately chose Hotti Chupin's 2024 Arnold Classic physique. It might just be the best modern era physique we've seen since the primes of Phil Heath and Big Ramy, with Hotti's physique showing a ridiculous combination of aesthetics, complete muscle development, conditioning, and size. His physique was massive yet finely detailed, with every muscle group carved to perfection. His conditioning was second to none, obviously, with it being razor sharp with deep cuts and striations all over, especially from the front. What really set this version of Hotti apart was how he managed to achieve such extreme condition without sacrificing too much size or proportion like in some of his other versions. His small waist and wide upper body complemented his dense muscle bellies, and his deep vacuum created a V-taper that only added to his imposing presence. He brought a level of symmetry that is rare for someone with such extreme density and condition, and when it comes to combining freaky size with elite-level condition and classic aesthetic balance, this version of Hotti Chupin is a clear standout. Dorian Yates' 1993 Mr. Olympia physique deserves the 5th place spot on this list. This version of Dorian is often regarded as his best and a true game-changer for bodybuilding. In 1993, Yates brought a level of condition and muscularity that had never really been seen on stage before, and his back in particular was absolutely legendary, showcasing thickness and detail that really set him apart from everyone else. But what made his physique so special, in my opinion, wasn't just the sheer size, but it was the balance that he achieved. Being so massive, Dorian still managed to, maintain excellent proportions and symmetry, with a narrow waist that balanced out his enormous upper body and legs. His conditioning was still obviously razor sharp, and every muscle was perfectly defined, giving him the most complete and impressive look of his career. Yates was the first bodybuilder to truly blend mass and detailed conditioning at this level, and his 1993 win really marked the beginning of his dominance in the sport. Moreover, while I could have gone with the smaller, arguably more aesthetic 1992 version, 1993 really was that much bigger, had a similar waist size, and zero visible injuries, making it the clear favorite. I really do think that Dorian's earlier versions could be considered aesthetic, and combining this with the overwhelming conditioning and mass of 1993 really only further shows why this version belongs here. In 4th place is Shawn Ray's 1996 Mr. Olympia physique, which is, in my opinion, one of the most aesthetically pleasing, perfect physiques ever displayed on an Olympia stage. To be honest, any version of Shawn is up there, with being the most aesthetically pleasing physique ever. However, this version tops all others, being the epitome of symmetry and proportion, with each muscle group being perfectly balanced and contributing to an overall flawless silhouette. His conditioning was absolutely top tier this year, with every fiber in his body etched with razor-sharp detail. Shawn's signature V-taper was on full display, with wide full shoulders and a small tight waist, creating one of the most visually striking silhouettes in bodybuilding. His muscle separation, particularly in the legs, and the midsection and the back as well, were just exceptional, and they showcased his extreme conditioning and the level of detail that truly defined his physique. Although he wasn't the biggest competitor on stage, what set him apart in 1996 was his ability to combine refined aesthetics with just enough size and muscle density to compete with the mass monsters of the time, with many claiming that he was robbed by Dorian at this show. His proportions were really flawless, with round, full muscle bellies and a flow that made him appear perfectly balanced from every angle. Shawn's 1996 look could easily be, further up on this list depending on what you prefer, but definitely is up there with the best, most perfect physiques ever. Phil Heath's 2011 Mr. Olympia physique is often considered one of the most dominant and well-rounded physiques in bodybuilding history. That said, it may be controversial to place it in the 3rd place spot, but I do think the next 2 competitors on this list are just better, and I will explain that later. Phil's conditioning, muscle fullness, and roundness were absolutely exceptional at this show. His delts, arms, and back were carved to perfection, giving him a truly 3-dimensional appearance that looked almost fake. The sharpness of his muscle definition, especially in the quads, hamstrings, and glutes, was absolutely remarkable, showcasing a level of detail that very few bodybuilders in history have ever achieved. Additionally, his symmetry and proportions were nearly flawless, with a narrow waist and wide shoulders that created one of the best V-tapers for him at that time. His size was massive, yet not overbearing, striking a balance between freaky mass and flowing aesthetics. The only reason I've placed him at third is because while his physique was outstanding in 2011, the next two physiques on this list have additional levels of balance, refinement, and overall completeness that put them just ever so slightly ahead when it comes to the perfect physique of all time. Both of them blended size, condition, and aesthetics even more seamlessly, at least in my opinion, making them just a bit more impressive in comparison. Nonetheless, Phil's 2011 Olympia physique is undoubtedly one of the best and will forever remain iconic, and I wouldn't fault you for placing him first. Alright, Ronnie Coleman's 1999 Mr. Olympia physique is the version I have for second place, and is often hailed as one of the most awe-inspiring and complete looks in the history of bodybuilding. While it is tough to place any physique above this one, I ultimately consider the top spot just slightly better, and here's why. You know, Ronnie's combination of size, condition, and symmetry in 1999 is something that has rarely been matched. His back in particular was the stuff of legend, I mean massive, detailed, and with a level of width and depth that really no one had ever seen before. His condition was spot on, with every muscle group showcasing incredible separation and definition, especially the glutes and the hamstrings, and the sheer size and density of Ronnie's muscles were just jaw-dropping, yet he still managed to keep his proportions in check with a V-taper that highlighted his smallish waist and broader shoulders. His overall physique had the perfect blend of freakish size and classic aesthetics. However, the only thing that slightly holds him back from being number one is that his waist and midsection could have been tighter. Look, there's no doubt that he is the greatest of all time from a competitor's perspective, and that all of his incredible body parts and phenomenal conditioning helped him make it this far on the list. But that said, I feel as though the perfect bodybuilder needs to have absolutely flawless lines, which is why I don't have him in first place. Finally, we have arrived at the elusive first place spot, and here I was torn between Flex Wheeler's 1993 Arnold Classic and his 1999 British Grand Prix version. Now, Flex himself has called his 1999 British Grand Prix his best, and from a competitor's perspective, that's certainly true. However, in this video, bigger isn't always better. While the 1999 physique was impressive in terms of mass, it did have its issues. There were clear signs of synthol and oil use in the arms, and his hamstrings and glutes were much softer, lacking the definition that really stood out in 1993. And let's not forget that his hair in 1999 was arguably at its all-time low, joking of course. Now, the 1993 Olympia was also considered for this spot, but I do feel the superior conditioning at the Arnold Classic really sets this version apart. The crispness and definition in the hamstrings and glutes were fully showcased at the Arnold, something the Olympia version really did lack. The balance of Flex's physique in 1993 was exceptional though. His small waist, wide shoulders, and perfect symmetry made his V-taper one of the best in bodybuilding history. The muscle fullness along with the razor-sharp condition created a physique that was not only freaky in its development, but also graceful and visually stunning. His muscles looked sculpted and his proportions were ideal. What truly puts Flex Wheeler's 1993 Arnold Classic version at the top, in my opinion, is that perfect blend of size, symmetry, and condition, all coming together in a physique that is still considered by many, including myself, to be the most perfect ever seen on a bodybuilding stage. Well guys, that about does it for this video. Do let me know in the comments your thoughts on the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. With that all being said though, I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.